is Sarah, and I have a child who's in Toronto daycare and am dependent on a subsidy and at risk of losing a subsidy because of the recent KPMG recommendations that apparently childcare services are over-serviced, and therefore we're apparently able to cut more than 2,000 childcare subsidies. So as the Ford government stands on the brink of slashing these 2,000 subsidies, privatizing 57 city daycares, cutting quality inspections, and ending rent and wage subsidies, which are one of the only reasons that daycares are able to operate, is that they're allowed to exist in Toronto schools without paying rents. Otherwise, daycare costs would shoot through the roof, even higher than they are currently. In case people don't know, right now, unsubsidized daycare is for an infant is $1,100 a month. As your kids age, it gets a little cheaper. The cheapest it gets to for before and after school care for like a 10-year-old child is $400 to $500 a month. For myself, while I was on the wait list for a daycare subsidy, we were paying over $600 a month for daycare. That was more than the rent I was paying on the room that I was sharing with my child. The reality too is that we already have a lack of space. We already have a daycare crisis. We have 19,500 people on the wait list for subsidy. We have in the riding that I'm from Davenport, they've already closed 2 daycares in the last couple of years and they haven't replaced those spots. Currently, there are 0 spots, subsidized or unsubsidized, available in the entire riding for any infant or any school-aged child. That's unsubsidized spots. And the City of Toronto, their own website, Children's Services website, acknowledges that there's only enough funding right now to subsidize 1 in 5 low-income kids. That's right now before the cuts. So I mean, we all know what it means. What it means is that if we lose these spots, we're talking about poverty, we're talking about unemployment, because the reality is people, and it's mostly women, can't work. Like, you've got to leave your job because you can't work if you're not getting childcare that's subsidized. Nobody can pay, most people can't pay $1,100 for a kid. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are making barely more than $1,100 a month in wages, and let alone, that's for one child, let alone if you have more than one child. And I think that we forget sometimes, too, that it's not like another system isn't possible. We already have other systems in place. In the province of Quebec, childcare is $5 a day. This is not like an impossible reality. It's that we have paid into this system that is supposedly a social good that we care about, that we depend upon, and that we value in our society, and that we're ready to support. And Ford wants to end that. And the biggest thing about that, I mean, that's not a surprise, that's totally boring, right? Like, nobody ought to be surprised about that remotely. But what we do need to worry about is that they feel a profound amount of trust in our complacency. That there's this belief that parents are too overwhelmed, too overworked, incapable of responding to these cuts, and no matter what, we just take it, and we take it, and we take it, and we take it. And I feel like, you know, the school system now puts so much emphasis on developing good citizenship, right? Every month they have assemblies on responsibility and respect and compassion and all of these wonderful things, and you know, most of that is great. But what life lesson do our kids learn from this? They learn that their parents, when the chips are down, that we're going to roll over, we're going to bleat a bit and roll over. When they take away from our communities, when they take away from our children and force people deeper into poverty, I don't want my child to take that lesson away. I want my child, our children, to understand that when we or our communities are under attack, we don't fight over the scraps. I don't want to fight every other desperate mom for whatever subsidies are left, because I feel I need mine more than they need theirs. I'm not willing to live in a society like that. What I want my child to learn is that when shit hits the fan, people stand up for themselves. That some things are not to be tolerated, that even when the odds are stacked against you, that you're going to stand up and that you're going to fight for what people need and for what we care about and for the kind of world that we demand to live in. Thank you.
Ford says cut back.
We say fight back.
Ford says cut back.
We say fight back.
Ford says cut back.
We say fight back.
Awesome. Okay, that was the last of our speakers, but as we leave here today, we're going to remember what we're fighting for. We're not just fighting to stop these cuts, we're actually fighting to expand these. What we're saying is that we need more healthcare, we need more housing. There is desperate shortage of services in Toronto right now, and they're planning on gutting what little is left of it here in Toronto. And we're going to fight that. There are mobilizations going on right now across Toronto, from Parkdale to Jane and Finch to Davenport-Perth to Scarborough to Downtown East to Riverdale and Leslieville. People are going to be mobilizing, and people are going to be mobilizing to fight back. In September, when Ford meets with the Special Executive Committee, we're going to be meeting at Dufferin Grove Park, and we're going to be meeting from people across Toronto. We're going to come together, and we're going to be figuring out a plan to stop Brock Ford from going ahead with his plan. And we're going to not let consultants like KPMG ruin our public services while they sit in their air-conditioned offices upstairs. So one more time, stop the war on the poor, make the rich pay! Stop the war on the poor, make the rich pay! Stop the war on the poor, make the rich pay! Thanks everyone, we'll see you in the streets.